Hello, I'm Jonasz Rewiński and this is Military Mind. Armed conflicts, defense and security, land, sea and air. We've got you covered. Overnight, Russian troops attacked Ukraine with 104 Shahed strike drones, according to the Ukrainian Air Force. The main targets were the northern regions of the country. In the Sumy region, one person was killed and 9 others were injured during the day due to Russian strikes. According to the Sumy city mayor, Russian forces also used drones to strike the residential sector, damaging dozens of private homes and an apartment building, as well as other civilian infrastructure. Meanwhile, in Russia, in the port of Ust-Luga, on the morning of the 24th of August, a natural gas terminal was engulfed in flames. The facility belongs to the company Novatek, which is engaged in the extraction of natural gas, and it was later confirmed that a Ukrainian drone was responsible for the fire. Now, another Ukrainian drone was also reportedly shot down at night near the Kursk nuclear power plant in Russia, with the following wreckage allegedly responsible for fire in the area. As a result of the crash, a transformer was damaged, and this, according to reports, forced one of the reactors to actually decrease its capacity by 50%. The authorities say that there were no radiation spikes as a result, this being due to the fact that a transformer was actually located outside the power station itself. However, the Russian reports on such strikes also need to be taken with a grain of salt. They often say they shot down all drones and it was just debris. In some cases, however, it is later proved that a drone actually did strike a specific target. More on that later on this very episode. Anyway, we're moving on now to the front line. And there, a Ukrainian special unit Artan has recaptured the village of Novomykhailivka, located near Siversk. According to radio intercepts, the operation caught the Russians by surprise. Moscow's forces lost nearly a full company of personnel and were forced to transfer reserves from other areas of the front. As a result, Ukrainian units improved their tactical position and strengthened their defenses on this section of the front. Moving on now to the Middle East, where the Israel Defense Forces reported that they struck Houthi military targets in Sana'a, the capital of Yemen, on the afternoon of the 24th of August. Among the targets in Sana'a were a military complex housing the presidential palace, 2 power plants, and a fuel storage facility. At least 2 people were killed and 5 wounded in the attack, as reported by Reuters, which cited information provided by the Houthis themselves. The IDF called the strikes a response to repeated attacks by the Houthi terrorist regime on Israel and its residents, including rocket attacks and drone strikes. The Times of Israel reports that on the 22nd of August, the Houthis launched a drone and a ballistic missile with cluster munitions at Israel. Yemen's Houthis say they are attacking Israel with missiles and drones in solidarity with Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Now, as we mentioned in the map earlier, Ukrainian long-range drones carried out a successful attack on Russia's energy infrastructure yesterday, causing serious damage to the Ust-Luga port complex, located in the Leningrad region on the Baltic Sea coast, 900 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. The published footage captures the moment when the drone crashes into the installation on the terminal grounds, followed by a powerful explosion that illuminates the industrial area. Ust-Luga is the largest export terminal for petroleum products and gas in the Baltic Basin. It was through this terminal that the Kremlin attempted to diversify its supply routes after Western sanctions and the reduction of transit through European territory. The strike on this facility calls into question the reliability of Russian energy logistics and demonstrates a new level of capability for Ukrainian unmanned systems, the ability to reach targets far beyond the front lines.
Прям видно, как он летит. Че, подавай?
Проводи в ОБК врача. Димон. Покажи в ОБК, как пройти.
Я это взяла.
The North Korean state television channel has released footage confirming the combat participation of North Korean troops in Russia's war against Ukraine. The video in question shows the use of Type 75 multiple launch rocket systems and 60mm mortars, which are in service with the North Korean army. This is the first official footage showing North Korean troops not only supplying ammunition, but also directly participating in combat operations. In fact, the Russian army is trying to compensate for the depletion of its own resources and personnel by involving international units. In this case, it is the army of Kim Jong Un's regime, which according to official propaganda is brotherly aid provided to Moscow. The participation of North Korean troops in combat operations on Russian territory once again underscores the extent of the Kremlin's international isolation. After all, Moscow's allies are essentially countries that have long been subject to sanctions and international pressure themselves. Now, of course, this also contradicts literally months of Russian propaganda which consistently denied the presence of any North Korean troops in the Russian Kursk region. But I guess there was just no synchronization between Kim Jong Un and the Kremlin when it comes to the propaganda messaging. Anyway, we're moving on now. Russians in the Belgorod region decided to play it safe and mined one of the local bridges. However, their caution actually backfired. Ukrainian soldiers struck with an FPV drone, hitting a warehouse of TM62 anti-tank mines. Now, the result was a massive explosion that turned the mine structure into a gigantic fireball. The footage shows flames and clouds of smoke rising above the area, with only debris remaining from the occupiers' fortifications and landmine stocks. In fact, the Russians have virtually placed explosives at their own feet. According to their plan, the bridge was supposed to be a barrier to Ukrainian military activities. Instead, however, it became a symbol that no fortifications can provide protection from high-precision strikes. Well, it appears that safety first is a concept unknown to the Russian army. Storing so many landmines out in the open generally doesn't seem like a good idea. I mean, accidental ignition could be catastrophic. And it was, except it was definitely not accidental. And with this, we conclude this edition of Military Mind. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.